If you've been trying to learn to cross step but you're not quite getting there, or if you've been missing the nose and you don't know where you're going wrong, or even if you're learning to start to cross step a nose ride and you want to expedite your progress, it's likely that you're missing something. One whole step of the process. Literally. What we'll speak through today is one of the breakthroughs that I've seen really transform surfers, from beginner surfers learning this through to advanced shortboarders taking their shot at cross-stepping and longboarding. So stay tuned, you won't want to miss this one. And if you are new here, my name's Considine, and I'm a professional longboarder, a surf coach, and a physical therapist, or physio, depending on where you're from. And I started a platform called longboardsessions.com to help surfers experience the best in their surfing. And today I'm here to help you reach your full surfing potential, no matter where you're at. At longboardsessions.com, we've also, without a doubt, created the most extensive cross-stepping series, something that will take you through your first cross-step, troubleshooting all of the problems that might arise until we get you to the Hang 5 and Hang 10. Something I'm very proud of, so if you do want to go check that out, check out longboardsessions.com in the link below and join myself as well as the other members. So for this session, it did look good when I was checking it, but seemed to turn pretty windy and awful by the time I got out there. I swear it was clean when I checked this place, and it's just gone crush shore as soon as I've come out. Always the way, but we'll still show you the examples nonetheless. I got a couple, including this pretty sick one, but I didn't feel that it represented the possibility behind this missing step for your wall. And so I decided to call it quits and try again the next morning. Fortunately, this was an awesome call, where we were blessed with a beautiful session, small running waves, and not a breath of wind out there. Alright, so the waves have cleaned up for this morning. Let's see how we go. Take two. Ew. This is much more like it. What a beautiful morning. I'm gonna go here where there's no one. So this is such a big and important thing, and I think it holds people back so much from their surfing and from being able to get to the nose. And it really affects two types of people, and this covers a large portion of people. But people in the beginner to intermediate stage of their surfing, learning to cross step, what actually happens is we do often adopt a wide stance, and this is because we've got a wide stance to keep our balance. And as we're learning through these stages, we need that wide stance. Look at this one, hold on. Look at this wide. But I'm talking to you guys. So what we know is that cross step, the smallest that cross step can be is in front of where that front foot is positioned. And so a big problem is if we have that wide stance, that front foot may still be too far forwards. And so when we do the cross step, we're actually landing too far up the board still. But this is something that the professionals are able to steer away against, because what they actually do is they have a narrower stance at the tail. A narrower stance at the tail can be really, really tricky for us in the beginner to intermediate stage, because we know that we want that wider stance to stay balanced, and we know that if we take a narrow stance on the tail, then what happens oftentimes is that we get off balance, we stall too much because we're not engaging the rail as effectively and efficiently, and therefore we may fall or lose the wave or something like that. So what we need some kind of process that allows us to narrow that stance so that we can land in the right part of the board for the cross step, which is in the middle part of the board, but that doesn't require a long-term narrow stance. That's something we'll get to in the future, but not right now. I'm here. Now, the second group of people that this does affect is, even intermediate to advanced level shortboarders coming to a longboard, because they're so used to adopting that wide stance at tail again. And we know that that front foot can be too far forwards, and therefore we step too far forwards up the board after the first two steps. So this can also affect them. So now we know the types of people that this can affect. Let me go through the main problems that I see people usually struggling with and what this can fix with regards to their cross step. So the first one is that they try and stay on the tail with a narrow stance for too long. And if we're not at that level where we can utilize our rail efficiency really well on the tail, then this does become a problem. So we still need
a relatively wide stance to some degree, depending on the level of surfing that you're at. Now, the second thing is because of this stance is people step too far up the board, and then what happens is they end up in this weird situation where they're only maybe a little shuffle away from the nose, and so that's what they'll do. They'll do a shuffle. And this is a really hard habit to break, okay? People often think, all right, well, if I don't do a shuffle, I need to do a small cross step, but this is a problem in itself as well. So problem 3, that they try and do a small cross step. So that's not a good recipe. And then what happens if they do get to the nose is both of the feet are so close to the nose that they might as well be hanging 10. There's no back foot pressure further back on the board to let them glide through and nose ride through less relatively steep sections, which is a massive problem. Okay, and then problem 4 is that people think, all right, well, 4 steps to the nose mustn't be for me. I've got to try and do it all in 2 steps. And this becomes a big problem because they're rushing all the way to the nose and they're kind of just learning how to get to the nose. So this doesn't often work. Oftentimes we miscalculate, mistime it, don't have our balance in the wrong section on the wave. So this is a big problem as well. I've got a really funny example of this in my previous session where I tried to rush it. 2 steps to the nose, slipped off the front. Don't do it, folks. So you're probably caught on at this point, and the fix is going to be to somehow adopt this narrow stance before we go. And I call this the step and replace method. So what's going to be happening for the step and replace method is we're going to come from our wide stance at the tail, and we're actually going to step the front foot back. Now, from where the front foot was, so the original position, this is where we actually want the first step of the cross step to come into. So we're stepping back and we're replacing our front foot with our then back foot. So the first step that's going to take the cross step. So we're essentially taking the space of 1 step out of the cross step, and this is usually how far we are from the midpoint of the board when we land too far off the board. And so this will actually land us in the middle of the board really, really nicely. But the thing that I often see going wrong with this one is people set up for this before the nose ride section's ready. So what they'll do is they'll come and move the front foot back into a narrow stance, and they'll hold that position for too long because the nose ride section isn't there. And then what will happen inevitably is they'll lose their balance or stall too much. It does need to be a quick movement. Think of it as the first kind of sub step before we actually take the cross step. So front foot back, next foot through and replacing where that foot was, and then we continue from there. Next thing that we're going to talk about is a really important drill that you can use to actually implement this into your surfing in your next session. But just before we get into that, if you guys are finding this useful and you do think that, it's helping your surfing and how you're understanding getting to the nose, then this is one element of the cross step, but we have a full cross step series, really, really extensive on longboardsessions.com. I'm super proud of it. It's it's definitely the most comprehensive guide through cross stepping that exists. And again, it's all of my knowledge kind of thrown in there, as well as everything else on Longboard Sessions, which takes you literally from beginner through to advanced surfing. So yeah, if you're interested, go check out longboardsessions.com. Come join myself as well as the other members. We have a bunch of fun in there, and yeah, it'd be great to help you with your surfing even more. So the next thing is actually going to be the drill that you can practice both at home as well as on waves to help to get this patterning and step pattern right. Practicing really multiple times on the wave, moving the front foot back first and then replacing that with the first cross step foot and then landing yourself in the middle. Come back to the tail and try again. Rinse and repeat it so that it feels really, really comfortable, really, really stable. Again, it's a really fun drill to try, and yeah, it can really make a huge difference in your surfing.
And make sure you check out this video from last week where I take you through exactly how to choose the right surfboard for you.